knowledge of self is also knowledge of them. They don't believe in God, but they fear us watching, my friend. If it's not in the pen, then they want us locked in the ends. The block is still hot, that's why man them buck with a scare.
This, man, the main event, obviously, GSP against Bisping, just to get right into the card, because I'm excited as fuck about it, right? Not about that fight per se, but the card as a whole is pretty fucking stacked. All right, 3 title fights, 2 of them they're legit. One of them is like, eh. And we're talking, of course, about Mr. Michael Bisping defending against George St-Pierre. And the closer we got to this pay-per-view, the more shit the fight got, which is weird. Like, I haven't seen very much of a shift about this fight. People are still like, eh, whatever. And that's been like the general feeling. Do you blame it on the fight, on the booking, or do you blame it on lack of promotion? Because I don't know about you, but I didn't see any heavy promotion until maybe last Wednesday.
I think the thing is for me is I just don't think anybody cares about GSP.
That's got to be what it is, right?
You know, I'm not trying to shit on anybody here, but at the end of the day, when Brock Lesnar was coming back, there was a hype about Brock Lesnar coming back, and literally the entire internet blew up purely based on the fact that he said what was the words that he used? I'm here. Or something like that, or I'm here right now.
No. It's how you like me now? No. What did he say off that promo? You mean, right?
Yeah, the promo where Ariel Helwani got fucking kicked in the vagina for.
I think it was how you like me now. Now I'm curious. I'm gonna pull it up on YouTube.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? There it is. Can you hear me now? And then everyone was like, "What?" And even like you even heard, because that was during UFC 199, the Rockhold card. In fact, the card Bisping won the title at. But if I'm correct, right, that is 199 where Bisping won the card, the belt, right? Yeah. Anyway, that was when that shit happened, and Joe Rogan goes, "What was that?" And then that's when Mike Goldberg, former UFC commentator, commentator guy, that's when he was like, "That means Brock is back against TBD." They didn't even know he was gonna fight. But you're right, they knew who the fuck he was. They were excited about it. This is the guy that beat Frank Mir's ass after Frank Mir knee barred his ass and nearly tore that shit up after I forgot what ref it was, but it was a ref that it wasn't Yamasaki, it was the other guy. But the ref that Brock swore to never have a fight, with him in it. So I'm with you, dude. I think GSP is just like, he's gone so damn long that it's almost like we have almost like a brand, not new completely, but a good chunk of this fan base is new, and they have no clue who he is.
But nobody even cares who he is outside of it, because Brock Lesnar at least brought over people from WWE who was like, whoa, WWE, we get to see somebody actually fight. Let's watch it. It makes it entertaining. GSP has been in cameos in various films where he's been in for 2 minutes, or he's been in films that nobody really give a shit about kickboxing. I'm sorry, but that film was so atrocious. It hurt my eyes, my soul, and it kind of made me just want to punch Jean-Claude in the face for letting somebody ruin another film.
Yeah, I didn't even bother watching it, dude.
The fact still remains is GSP, I just don't think is that much of a draw. Would he have done better if this had been in Canada? Yes. But the point still being is the actual pay-per-view buys. Yeah,
I mean, what was now I'm starting to wonder what his draw power was before he left. It can't have been that good.
I know that it was all right for the time period, but when you're one of the stars of that time period, you're gonna do well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're one of the top guys at that time, you're gonna do well because you're one of the top guys at that time. Whereas now, you don't have to be a top guy per se. Like, you don't have to be a champion to be a guy who can do big buys. You don't have to be. You can be a mediocre guy in mid-tier in the rankings, and you can draw like fuck. So, but yeah, this fight, I think this pay-per-view is a good pay-per-view. I think it's a really decent pay-per-view with a lot of stacked, fights in there. But the thing is, though, is regardless of whichever way you look at it, let's be honest, the main event kind of sucks. Like, even as an Englishman, I'm looking at this fight and I'm kind of like,
I mean, they've been trying to hype it up. I know you. I think you watched the embedded stuff today, or are you watching that tomorrow?
I'm watching that like after this.
After this, okay. So I know you haven't seen it yet, but all the embeddeds, they're really trying to push the GSP. You know, even Bisping himself has been saying, I know he defended the belt 9 times and giving him credit, all the credit in the world. And he says, but I'm gonna kick his ass. But it's just weird. To me, it lacks enthusiasm in it, the promotion itself. But the fight is just, even when it was announced, you and I talked about it. Like, I mean, I guess that was literally my reaction to it when I heard the announcement. You and I talked about it. I was like, I guess it's a fight. I mean, okay. I would prefer to see GSP fight for the 170 belt if he comes back.
You know what this fight is, and I know obviously you're not into your wrestling that much, like your pro wrestling and whatnot, but this literally reminds me of for wrestling fans when Goldberg competed against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania the first time, and nobody cared because they knew both of them were leaving afterwards. This is the exact same principles. You're looking at Michael Bisping, who, let's be honest, guys, this will probably be his last fight. I know he says he's wants to fight again, and fight against Robert Whittaker. They're wanting to do UFC 221. He's wanting to wait a little bit longer, and he wants it to be in Manchester. Do I see where he's coming from? Yes, but the fact is, you just can't wait that long, unless obviously Whittaker can't compete till then. But the fact still remains, I think GSP gets beat. I think GSP then disappears off the face of the planet. And yeah, I think Michael Bisping rides off into the sunset with, and I'm going to throw this out there, guys, because I know a lot of people are going to hate on this, and I understand where they're coming from. But the fact is, though, is you could argue that he's one of the greats in the sport, and he's up there with many other names when you look at who he's beat, regardless. And you have to look at his career. Like, he beat Henderson, he beat if he does beat GSP, Anderson Silva, Luke Rockhold obviously is a name to throw in there anyway. But the fact is, though, is it's a fucking win streak nonetheless, where he's beaten all these guys consistently. And hey, every guy who did beat him, juiced to the fucking gills, and everybody who he's beaten since, he's done with one fucking eye. So you could argue he's one of the greats of all time. Not the greatest, of course, but he's one of the greats of all time.
Yeah, I was like speaking to somebody today that was trying to make the argument that he was the greatest of all time, and I'm like, whoa, settle down, boy. Come on now. I know he beat Anderson Silva. He beat Anderson Silva post busted leg, post old as shit, post.
Doesn't matter. A win's a win, bro. You know.
Oh, get the fuck out! This isn't basketball.
You're only as good as your last win.
Football.
You're only as good as your last win.
Right, but you got to take into account the age. Fucking A.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
You do.
You don't though, because by that account, then John Jones, hasn't competed in X amount of years prior to fighting DC. Yeah. So if DC had have beaten him, we'd have gone, oh, DC is the greatest light heavyweight of all time. He's beaten everybody. He even beat John Jones. Nobody would have turned around and said, yeah, but John Jones had ring rust, bro.
Fuck that. 100%. 100% people would be saying that shit.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes, they would. Dude, they would make it. No, time out.
They were his own fault. They'd have said, oh, it's his own fault, bro. It's his own fault for getting popped.
No. Wrong. I'm pulling the truck. Wrong. All right, sir. It is not. No, fuck no. Okay, hell no. Most people would have been like, well, John Jones is gone for 2 years. I guarantee, because people dislike DC that fucking much.
No,
they'll pull out any excuse possible for John Jones.
Nah,
fuck yeah, dude. Get that all over him. Hey, you know what? Fuck it.
Would have had a big bruise on his chest, and everybody would have been like, "Go take some dick pills now, bro. Go do some pills, bro."
DC fans would be doing that shit. Here's the thing. All right, anybody watching right now? Because I haven't even pulled up the video at all. Anybody watching right now? All right, let us know what you would think would happen. Had DC beat John Jones, what do you think would have happened? The excuse that I know would have happened, would have been thrown out there. John Jones been on for 2 years, or what Ash said was just basically, well, John, DC's the best ever. Fuck John Jones. That's not.
People turn around and say that he's one of the greatest ever anyway.
He's who? DC?
Yeah. In the
certainly at 205.
In the light heavyweight division. Some people say he is the greatest of all time.
I don't know what the fuck they're watching. He lost the same guy twice.
John Jones, who keeps on getting popped.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That's where you start adding asterisk shit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's an asterisk to that. And even I'll fucking admit to that shit for sure. The fact that there's definitely an asterisk next to DC's name because sure he's okay. Time out. Has he been officially given the belt back? I never paid attention to that.
No, nobody's actually. Oh, he's been given the belt back. Yeah.
Okay, so he's champ. Okay, so he's officially champ again. All right, but at the same time, perception is reality, and everyone remembers him getting beat, right, badly by John Jones.
I'm just telling you, man. The fact is, though, he is. I'm saying that Bisping's in the conversation as one of the greatest of all time. I'm not saying he's the greatest. I'm just saying at the end of the day, you look at everything he was able to accomplish at 205, at 185, and the only people that have beaten him were dudes that we all know were fucking juiced up to the gills. I think the only exception is probably Luke Rockhold, and then he fucking starched Luke Rockhold the second time.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, the first time Luke Rockhold smothered him to death, but and then choked him out. But yeah, the second time he knocked out Luke Rockhold. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about that, and I was like talking about how Bisping knocked him out, and took the belt from him. Like, yeah, dude, Bisping's such a bad motherfucker, man. Went in and took Luke Rockhold, who looked almost unbeatable then, and they were like, oh, they only took Luke Rockhold out because he looked like he didn't give a fuck. And I go, what? Did you? Wait a minute. So he beat him because he didn't give a fuck. He didn't beat him because he rocked the shit out of him, dropped him on the cage, and then bounced his head off the cage repeatedly. He didn't beat him because of that. He beat him because he didn't give a fuck. Like, sure, Luke Rockhold might have gone in there looking bothered and shit. Maybe he fucking overestimated. That's part of the fight game. Okay.
People are neglecting that he got hit twice before he went to the ground, and then he got beaten up against the cage. He got hit once.
He got dropped.
He's got spinned around. He got back up. He got fucking leathered again, and then he dropped to the ground, and then he got finished. People don't take into account that there's various different moments where we watch various different fighters who have been clipped and then managed to pull guard. They've managed to get a clinch, managed to get a quick takedown to get the bearings, but he didn't get the opportunity because Bisping went in for the kill. Now we're going to subject here, but the fact is, though, is Bisping is going to be one of the greatest of all time. At the end of the day, if he beats GSP, he'll have most wins in UFC history. I'm still sure that he has the highest significant strikes in UFC history. And additional to that, you're talking about a guy who was the first British champion. First guy from the UK to win a title. Additional to that, the list of beating like Anderson Silva, Henderson, along with obviously potentially GSP as well. You've got to throw him in the conversation as far as one of the greatest of all time. I just don't. Sure. I agree that some people can turn around and say other people are, but the fact is, though, is Bisping is up there, and if he was American, you guys would be toting on.
Here we go.
So hard.
Here we go. Here we go.
So hard. You would be doing the Christy Mack all over him.